Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Daydreamer. Today I want to talk to you about the new Final Fantasy XIV PvP mode, The Feast, which offers an 8 vs 8 mode and two 4 vs 4 modes. Both 4 vs 4 modes are ranked, but they require a different setup for your party in order to enter. And I'll talk about it later in the video, but for now, I want to tell you exactly what The Feast is about. The Feast is the new addition to the PvP content for Final Fantasy XIV, which I'm actually really appreciative, since Final Fantasy XIV is not known for its PvP. There are a lot of other games out there that really focus on PvP, such as Blade and Soul and Black Desert, that make PvP as the main focus, or as one of the main focuses for in-game content. I never told my friends to come to play Final Fantasy XIV before because of its PvP, because I didn't think that the PvP at the time for Final Fantasy XIV was any good to be really serious with. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been getting serious with it, but I've never considered it to be really spectacular or anything to mention of until The Feast came out, which introduced so many new features, which honestly brought in a lot of interest for PvP for myself and other players because of what it brought in. So let's talk about The Feast. What does it offer? Well, the 8 vs 8 mode is your standard 8 players versus 8 player structured PvP mode, where each team has 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 4 DPS. So you pretty much fight raid party to raid party. The tanks are there to go in and initiate the attack. The DPS are there to back up the tanks and get the kills. The healers are there to provide healing and support for any of the party members. Crowd control and focusing on the target is very crucial, as well as collecting the marks that your enemies drop. You got 2 sides, the claws and the fangs. Each side has to collect certain points from the enemy team. When the enemy player falls, they'll drop certain amount of currency on the ground. It is up to you and your teammates to pick up the currency after the player has been defeated. The team that collects the most points wins. On average, from my experience, each Feast match for 8 vs 8 mode has lasted about 5 to 7 minutes as is, so it's very easy to just queue back in after the match is ended and find a party to instantly party up with. The actual platform and arena where the Feast is taking place at is a giant 2-level arena. The upper level, where the main battle actually happens, has a lot of walls for LOS, and the lower arena has a lot of bonuses that people can go pick up, even though a lot of people don't think about picking them up. Each bonus is locked in a chest that a player has to DPS down in order to obtain the reward inside. At the very beginning of each side, there is a defensive and offensive buff that players can grab whenever they need to. Usually, you'd want a defensive buff for a healer and an offensive buff for somebody who can do a lot of instant damage, like a ninja, monk, or dragoon. What I really like about Final Fantasy XIV PvP in The Feast is that it takes a lot of coordination to figure out which target to take down first. Since there's no such thing as a voice chat, you have to be very careful and look out for what your teammates are doing and who they're trying to focus on. You want to make sure that somebody is marking down the prize targets for the enemy team, especially the healers. You want to try to focus them down whenever possible and take them out. If the enemy team can't heal, they can't mitigate the damage, and that's what matters. As a bard, I found it really fun to run around The Feast and poke people left and right. I'm still working out on the best way to play the bard, since it really doesn't seem like there's a huge difference between the bard and archer for this PvP mode, as they both do pretty good damage from afar. But I'm still working on some strategies, and I may put together a guide for players that are interested in playing a bard in The Feast. I've not tried out the 4 vs 4 mode, but it's pretty much the same deal. The parties contain a tank, a healer, a melee DPS, a ranged DPS, and they go against a party of equal composition. In the 2 systems for how to queue in for the 4 vs 4 mode for The Feast, there's a solo party and a full party. Meaning you can either queue by yourself as a solo and be partnered up with other new solo players, or you can queue together as a 4-player group and take on other structured and pre-made 4-player groups. I think The Feast is a great addition to Final Fantasy XIV, even though it's not anything revolutionary. Final Fantasy XIV, like I said before, is not really known for its grandiose PvP. But I think The Feast is a push to a good direction to see The Feast possibly become one of the main contents for Final Fantasy XIV, as well as expand the PvP for Final Fantasy XIV. The only requirement for level 60 players is to get to item level 150, which is very easy to obtain. You can mostly get them from a vendor or marketplace somewhere, so it's very easy to get yourself into it. The Feast rewards a lot of great rewards, such as Tombstones of Esoterics, Tombstones of Law, which you can easily cap out using The Feast, and Wolf Marks, which can get you some PvP gear. I don't think there's a big difference between PvP gear and raiding gear, but at the same time I am not well versed when it comes to gear in Final Fantasy XIV in general. I may have to play around with some currency and play around with some gear to see if maybe some of the Wolf Marks gear can be used at all in raiding and outside of PvP. If he cannot, then I guess I can just start putting together myself a private PvP set of my own. Nevertheless, this actually inspires me to get more classes to level 60 so I can play all the new classes and try them out and see what they're like in the Feast. I got a Dark Knight and Machinist on the way to level 60 and I can't wait to try them both out in PvP as well as level other characters to level 60 as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video to the Feast introduction. My name is Samriel. Like, subscribe, and as always, have a great day. And please leave your feedback in comments below.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Samriel. Welcome to Hello, what have we got here? Hello ladies, how's it going? Breasts as a treasure of that. I kinda wanna say you could dress better.